The following is an excerpt from my video Janet Bloomfield on Trial Part 4. I felt like this segment of that video is complete enough, and good enough, to be its own standalone video.
Exactly, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And you know, this is where I would love to, once we figure out how this whole thing's gonna work, I would love to throw it open. Anyone get in here and ask me questions. Ask me to clarify things. Question what I'm saying. Ask me or you know, be critical. You're welcome to do it. And I think that this show is going to evolve into a real conversation about these issues, not just me talking. You know, when I talk on my blog, I get certain comments. It's very one-sided. And I think we're at a point in the culture now where we can have these conversations. We can have these conversations openly. There's enough people who know enough about the issues to really get something fantastic started. So I hope this show is the beginning of that. We're starting to get splintering inside the men's human rights movement as people factionalize. And I actually think as difficult as that is and as painful as it can be, it's also good. It means that we're getting big enough that different areas can emerge.
I agree with this. I believe the infighting we are experiencing is long overdue and necessary. One of the greatest problems the men's movement has always faced is lack of any cohesive ideology. Just different people having different reasons to gripe about feminism, tell women to get back in the kitchen, and tell men to man up. I could go on for an hour on what a train wreck the old community was. Point is, it is time that people hammer out an actual ideology, an actual purpose that goes beyond telling feminists to knock it off and get back in the kitchen. We must evolve, and sometimes that means different factions parting ways. So I agree with your statement. This is also one of those rare moments you've said something intelligent. I feel like I am supposed to give you something now.
And some of those factions are going to fight each other. But I don't think that, let's take that MGTOW community that likes to get very critical of me for being a traditionalist. Come and join the show. Come and talk to me. Ask me your questions. I'll be happy to answer them. I mean, I'm not going to lurk on anyone's YouTube channel and watch their videos.
Well, I'm not going to tune into a video broadcast I am only aware of 2 weeks after it airs. So if bringing up a case, in a video, showing your apparent contradictions that require addressing, isn't good enough for you to watch and respond to, fuck you.
But face-to-face, one-on-one, you and me, right here and now, get in here on this Hangout and ask me the questions that you have.
Why? You know the allegations brought forth against you by John, Diana, and to some degree, myself. You've seen the videos. Go right ahead, honey, and respond to them. Oh wait, you're only going to respond to something on your watch. When tuning in is a must in order to have the privilege of talking to you. You can get off your high horse now.
I mean, there's one, I have over 1 million, I don't know how many words you have on your blog, but just like the bash of violent bitch, I have over 1 million words on my blog. Over 1 million. There's more than 500 posts. Lots of them are way bigger than 2,000 words. There's well over 1 million. And some, a different, one little subsect inside the MGTOW community got one paragraph, maybe 30 words out of millions. Well, not millions, but over 1 million. We don't need to get too much into hyperbole here, but they find this one paragraph. And I thought the accusation was so absurd, I basically just ignored it. Like, oh, whatever, this is ridiculous. Anyone who thinks that I advocate for men to be women's slaves hasn't read fuck all of my work and doesn't know anything that I'm doing. So I just ignored it. But just a few days ago, I went back and I actually looked at the article that I wrote. It was about the bride who shoved her husband off a cliff and then left him there to die. And she was up on she was up on second-degree murder charges, where my post was really about why the hell isn't she up on first? I mean, this was premeditated. Hey, honey, look at this view. Isn't this sweet? Off he goes. She planned it. She picked a spot. I mean, how could they not make this fucking charge stick? That's what the story was about. And then I started talking about patriarchy, formal power versus informal power. The idea that patriarchy harms and enslaves women is complete fucking trash, because women have informal power. What the patriarchy allows is for women to shove men off of cliffs and face no consequences. It doesn't harm women, it protects them. from the consequences of their actions up to and including killing men. They get protected from the consequences of those actions by the so-called patriarchy. At no point anywhere in this post do I say, oh yeah, and that's fantastic, I love it, let's have a, yeah, I want to be able to kill any man I want and not face consequences. Let's bring back traditional power. It was an absurd. And the most ridiculous irony is that they're doing, this little community is doing the exact same fucking thing all the little social justice warrior critic assholes do. They take one very tiny, small snippet of writing. They pull it out of its context. They do not refer to the context that it was in. Then they twist it, deliberately obscure the meaning to promote their own ideology. There's no interest in truth. There's no interest in what the point of this was.
Okay, Janet, this is bullshit. I am aware of the quote you are referring to. I was first made aware of it from Diana Davison's video. I am aware of the quote, and I even took your side, stating, in my first Bloomfield on trial video, that I believed Diana misunderstood your statement. I said I didn't think it meant what Diana thought it meant, and I don't believe Diana was taking you out of context either. That quote Diana read to us was baffling. It was just phrased weird, and even in the context of the entire blog post, it was difficult to tell what you meant. Like, you know what, let me just grab the quote.
Of course, there is a price to pay for surrendering formal power in favor of informal power. It means that our sons, our brothers, our fathers, our nephews, our cousins, our friends can be shoved off a cliff, and the murderess will face little to no consequence for that. In return for that sacrifice, we get the protection of men.
The discrepancy was that it sounded like you were saying that women should sacrifice formal power, that feminism seeks, for informal power, that women traditionally have, because the informal power gives women the power to do outrageous things like killing men. Like you were saying traditionalism gives us enormous power. Quit rocking the boat, you feminists. And as I said, I disagreed with that interpretation, as did many others. But to be fair, it was an ambiguous statement. You have a habit of making ambiguous statements, like this for example. From the blog entry 2014, January 22nd, entitled, 5 Rights Feminism Delivered for Women, but doesn't want to share with anyone else.
4. The right to not be assumed natural caregivers. Feminists have long railed against the stereotype that women are naturally more loving than men, and therefore better suited to be caregivers for small children. Of course, these very same women hire other women to care for their children when they are occupied with something more important, and are reluctant to even contemplate hiring an occasional babysitter who is male, but we'll ignore the inconsistency for the moment. If women have no innate advantage over men when it comes to caring for small children, why then are feminist organizations so opposed to shared parenting and automatic joint custody when parental relationships fail? What's up with that? Are men and women equally suited to be providers of care, or are they not?
Well, which one is it? Are you saying that feminists claim women are not naturally better caregivers, but secretly know they are, which means you yourself believe women to be naturally better caregivers? Or are you saying that you agree with feminists that women are not naturally better caregivers, because it's not like you to agree with a feminist? So Janet, anyone could easily mistake this for you believing women are naturally better caregivers, and who knows, maybe that is what you meant. I am honestly confused. The point is, you do this a lot actually. You make statements where people aren't clear about which side of an argument you are taking, and again, I want to point out who is a pretty popular and rather respected MGTOW, actually took your side on this, and so did many other MGTOW, so for you to act like there is this small faction of MGTOW, by the way we're the majority and I'll get into that in a bit, who are just like the social justice warriors because they quote mind you, is complete bullshit. One individual misunderstood you, many others weren't sure, but the general consensus was, one odd statement does not a guilty person make. So Diana made another video with more quotes and provided links to where she got them, and then the whole argument in the community over you being a traditionalist, and what direction was AVFM going in. Was John and Diana crazy and or disgruntled, or were they truth-telling whistleblowers? I decided I would put you on trial and go over your work with a fine-tooth comb to come to a conclusion, which would be more beneficial than having John and Diana versus Paul Elam yelling he said she said to one another. And not that I am defending these cultural Marxist social justice asswipes, but the phenomenon you are ascribing to them, and accusing MGTOW of, is not a primary characteristic of social justice warriors. Quote mining is a tactic used by many dishonest people in practically every demographic, and is more times than not snagged out of context because the person didn't get the context to realize they were removing the quote from it. And again, not to defend social justice warriors, but this phenomenon exists everywhere, and comparing MGTOW to social justice warriors is just stupid. You have better luck comparing us to the feminists, like everyone else does, because there are some actual parallels. As I said, two different biological demographics perceiving themselves as victims of the other, and retaliating against that group to alleviate the victimization, are bound to have a lot of parallels, so there is at least a grain of truth to the knee-jerk squealing of just as bad as the feminists, but just as bad as the social justice warriors, is baseless and you make yourself look retarded and lose credibility. Let's take a look at some numbers, the amount of views my channel has received in the past 28 days, and keep in mind, at February 14th, I haven't even made a video over the past month, but the views for my channel is 72,791. The views for MGTOW sub-forum of AVFM's forum, for 28 days is 8,365. Now admittedly that's me counting the views of all posts between January 16th and February 14th. Other older posts on that forum may be getting views per day, and I honestly don't know what the total view count is. But I can't imagine that number even being double, so my channel, which hasn't had a video uploaded in a month, has more views than the MGTOW section on AVFM. Now, let's look at the comments/posts. On my channel, it's 27,654, over the channel's lifetime. On AVFM's MGTOW sub-forum it's 3,860, over the forum's lifetime. And AVFM's MGTOW sub-forum is older than my channel. I'm sorry to say, my channel alone is bigger than AVFM's MGTOW base. However, the AVFM forum in total is much bigger than my channel, containing almost twice the amount of subscribers, and easily more total views. But keep in mind it is older, and most of the people on that forum aren't self-identified MGTOW, and this is just pitting numbers against my channel alone. I'm sure John the others' numbers are even higher. AVFM's total forum members, 12,313. Doubt even half call themselves MGTOW. Barbarossa, perhaps the most respected MGTOW, subscribers, 19,009. Ask Louis Marco's subscribers, 25,647. Sandman's subscribers, 22,725, and many others, who are all in agreement. MGTOW is not pro-marriage, it stands in opposition to both marriage and traditionalism, and if you're married, we're just not going to call you MGTOW. Looking at AVFM's traffic, to which I will admit their unique visitors have gone up a lot over the past year, but looking at their traffic, according to multiple web traffic analysis, Sandman alone is probably getting just under the daily visits AVFM gets. That would be the entire site being visited by every kind of traffic including web crawler bots. For you to try to say that we are some teeny tiny little minority of MGTOW, is fucking laughable. Either you think lying over and over will somehow make it true, or you're just so oblivious to the fact that Paul Elam's marriage-friendly style MGTOW, is a very small minority of MGTOW. Here are some pictures of the numbers I was talking about.
Why this was written. All they want to do is they've decided, and in my particular case, I think I've got some fucking jealous mean girl shit going on, and it was just an attempt to paint me in the worst possible light so that people would think I wasn't a supporter of men's rights, that here I am trying to enslave men so that I'm allowed to push them off cliffs and face the consequences. Now there are a few men I would love to push off a cliff. This is true. This is true.
Oh, hey, Quantum Miners Heaven there. Let the plus community come after that one. They'll slice that 2 seconds out and make a whole video off of it. A really nice quote. The patriarchy allows women to push men off a cliff with no consequence. Okay, you can cut that one and use that to show how I support that. How I'm like, I totally think that's fantastic. That's the best thing I've ever heard. It's such fucking garbage. It's such garbage. The whole traditionalism MGTOW thing it's as illogical as feminism. Feminism is about giving women choices. Unless you want to be a stay-at-home mother, or a hooker, or get married when you're young, then that's the wrong choice, and you can't make that choice. I mean, that's right. Or female MRA.
Yeah, Yeah, you can't be a female MRA. You are not a feminist. That's not one of the choices you're allowed. And here's MGTOW, men going their own way. So if you as a man sit down and decide the best thing for you in your life and the way you want to go is to get married, you're not allowed to do that because you have to go the way we say you have to go.
Let me just explain something here, and let me do that by first saying I agree with the feminists too. I agree that you cannot call yourself a feminist while being a member of the men's rights movement. You cannot be a feminist and be for a rule by fathers. You cannot be a feminist and be against a woman's right to vote and own property. It is true that by being a feminist, there are certain paths you can no longer take. If you are an MRA, you cannot be a feminist. Because by being an MRA, you are taking a path that is not in line with feminism and vice versa. And if you are MGTOW, you cannot subscribe to a traditionalist gynocentric way of life. MGTOW is an opposition to that path. The path of normal, common, status quo, the direction most men are going in and have been going in, the traditional path for men, is the path in which a MGTOW veers off of in order to be a MGTOW. MGTOW is veering off the traditional gynocentric path. Let me see if I can get this through your remarkably stupid heads. You cannot be a feminist and an anti-feminist. You cannot be an anti-feminist and a feminist. These two things indicate you are not the other. Here you are mocking feminism because to be a feminist means you reject certain paths that are antithetical to feminism. This is not an appropriate criticism of feminism, anti-feminism, or MGTOW. You cannot be a square and a rectangle. You cannot eat steak and call yourself a vegetarian. You cannot be a carnivore and eat vegetables or a herbivore and eat meat. Some things are what they are by virtue of what they are not. You cannot make an argument that a thing is bad for being a thing in which another thing is not. It's a nonsensical argument. Furthermore, MGTOW is not a declaration that men should have choices. Men already have choices. The problem is they continue by far and large to make the wrong choices. Most men choose to be white knights, and MGTOW is not cool with that choice. Most men drop to their knee, humble themselves before a woman, and beg for her hand in marriage, and become a cog in the matriarchal wheel. MGTOW is not cool with this. This whole argument of these crazy MGTOW are trying to tell men what they are not allowed to do, is a piss-poor argument because non-MGTOW MRAs do the same fucking thing. You people are constantly criticizing male feminists. Oh, how dare you? How dare you not support men who wear he-for-she t-shirts? And how dare you mock men for marching in slut walk and holding signs telling their brothers to stop raping? Why oh why doesn't AVFM stand up for these men's rights to hold those male-bashing signs? When's the last time you guys stood up for David Futrell? Look at the way Paul and AVFM are dissing David Futrell. David is a man. I thought AVFM was a voice for men. Well, apparently they're only a voice for men who agree with them. You see that? That's the asinine shit you two are doing right now.
Can't be a female MRA. You are not a feminist. That's not one of the choices you're allowed. And here's MGTOW, men going their own way. So if you as a man sit down and decide the best thing for you in your life and the way you want to go is to get married, you're not allowed to do that because you have to go the way we say you have to go. You can't just go your own way. The whole philosophy of men going your own way is you have to go the way I tell you to go. What the fuck? What?
I think
How
it's
can
fair
this
to
even
make
be a debate?
a clarification there that these guys, I mean, they call themselves MGTOW, and I can't argue with their right to do that. If they say they're MGTOW, they are, as far as I'm concerned. But this particular band of idiots out there don't strike me as representative at all of MGTOW philosophy, not the MGTOW philosophy that I've read. It's stuff that these guys have begun writing in YouTube comments as they go along, as they react to each thing that offends them deeply. But this isn't about MGTOW to me. MGTOW to me is still a very important part of our cultural shift. I think it'll eventually have a positive impact in terms of restoring some balance between the sexes. But this particular band of ideologues, they basically just called themselves MGTOW. And what they are is social justice warriors, just like you said. They're feminists in terms of their behavior and actions, and they have just enough spine to attack the people who are not their real enemies. And that's all I'm going to say on that for today.
It's such a shame because I have a lot of MGTOW commenters on my blog, and I don't see this kind of craziness at all. What I see is that the entire philosophy, right at the heart of the philosophy, is that it is a man's choice what he wants to do. Whether or not you choose to get married is part of your way, and you define that way. This is about removing the social expectation that men must get married, that men have to support families. No, if you choose to, if that is your way, your choice, the way you want to live your life, you are free to do that. You are also free to make any other goddamn choice you want.
But then that just means do whatever you feel like doing. But guess what? Everyone is and has been doing whatever they want. Feminists, male and female, are doing what they want. Men who reject marriage are doing what they want. Men who are getting married are doing whatever they want. Child molesters and rapists are doing what they want. Slut walkers and people who flag MGTOW YouTube channels are doing what they want. So everybody is MGTOW according to your definition. This goes beyond a bunch of bachelors merely trying to remove some stigma of being single or the social pressure to marry. This is a phenomenon with an ideology to explain, justify, and encourage the phenomenon. MGTOW is an awakening to the sexual dynamics of our culture. It is a rejection of the gynocentric aspects of those dynamics. You cannot reject these dynamics while proudly partaking in them. Furthermore, removing the stigma on being a bachelor is begging for social approval. MGTOW don't beg for approval. We'll be bachelors with or without society's blessing.
This craziness about, if you live with a woman or if you're married to a woman, you be having to pass some sort of ideological purity test. It immediately shows you that they've gone off the same deep end that social justice warriors and feminists have gone off. Tone policing, deciding what specific word you're allowed to use. I mean, how hilarious is that? Come and join a movement called Men Going Their Own Way, and we will tell you down to the last syllable what you're allowed to say. I mean, they're not going to win. They're not going to destroy this MGTOW movement because it's an essential part of freeing men from the expectation of gender roles. There is nothing wrong with gender roles. There is a lot wrong with the expectation that men have to embrace them the way that anyone decides. No one gets to decide.
Or that women have to. It is, I agree. All I can say is I agree, and I find it particularly ironic that some of the most vociferous dogma about this stuff is emanating from the mouth of someone who's living with a woman who has basically got him on a leash and instructing him what to say. But I won't get too far into that. I laugh about that whenever I think about it. But that's your show, but I guess that's enough time to give to these guys. Not worth it.
It's not worth it. Not worth the time. I don't watch any of those silly videos and stuff. I just wanted to address the fact that, if there are questions from Men Going Their Own Way, if you would like clarifications, if you want to talk to me about what I think, I'm more than willing to do that. And this is the forum that I hope is really going to take off. Now, I am going to need to...
You don't watch our silly little videos? Well, maybe that is why you are completely ignorant. Did either of you two jackasses ever stop to think that there is a movement outside of the voiceforeman.com internet domain? Believe it or not, that domain name, and all the conversation that takes place within that domain, is only a small portion of the world. Open a window and look. There's a whole world going on outside of your little circle, jerk. If you want to address us, then address us. The idea that all of us are to drop our busy lives and tune into your Google Hangout to have a conversation with you, get over yourself. Neither you nor Paul are anywhere near as big or as important as your inflated egos would have you believe.
This craziness about, if you live with a woman or if you're married to a woman, you be having to pass some sort of ideological purity test.
No one said that you can't live with a woman. You're making shit up, you stupid cunt. Ideological purity test. Yeah, don't get married. One rule, deal with it. Christ almighty, MGTOW come up with one rule, and it's one too many. My God, vegetarians saying you can't eat meat and call yourself a vegetarian. Oh, the rules. The purity tests, will they ever end?
It immediately shows you that they've gone off the same deep end that social justice warriors and feminists have gone off. Tone policing, deciding what specific word you're allowed to use.
What the fuck are you talking about? Who's tone policing? What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I am hearing? What I am hearing is, if MGTOW have as much as one belief, it's one belief too many. If there is just one rule, it's one too many. Shut your mouth and go your own way. That's what it feels like you're trying to get across. If a MGTOW has just one belief, it's one too many, because we all know MGTOW is a snazzy cool alternative label for MRA, Any effort to differentiate itself from MRA is being just like a social justice warrior. This is what I am hearing. Outrageous mockery because MGTOW reject marriage.
I mean, how hilarious is that? Come and join a movement called Men Going Their Own Way and we will tell you down to the last syllable what you're allowed to say.
What the fuck are you talking about, you stupid whore? What MGTOW is saying this shit? One rule, you can't call yourself MGTOW and be married. And this is how you interpret us? Now who the fuck has gone off the deep end?
I mean, they're not going to win. They're not going to destroy this MGTOW movement because...
What MGTOW movement? According to you two, a MGTOW is doing whatever you fucking feel like. Well, guess what? That's not a movement. This whole going your own way means choosing your own path. Well, everyone has been choosing their own path. I hardly call people doing what they've already been doing a movement. At best, you people are trying to define MGTOW as an MRA, who for God only knows what reason, likes to use the hip new snazzy term MGTOW to be all edgy. As for tone policing, if you are taking liberties with that word, and meaning saying a thing is right or wrong, good or bad, allowed or disallowed, then you assholes are trying to tone police us. The topic of can married men call themselves MGTOW occurred, and we had a discussion about it, and the great bulk of us decided that no, MGTOW could not be a marriage-friendly movement, and while we do not wish ill on married men, and will work alongside of them for the greater good of the male sex, we will not consider married men to be MGTOW, and ask that those married men who want to be a part of this, just continue preaching what is in your heart, preach what you need to. But just don't call yourself MGTOW while doing it. We came up with one rule, and look how you AVFM fuckers with your MHRA brand treat us. You fucking go off the deep end, saying we're just like the social justice warriors. Boy oh boy, us MGTOW have consensus on just one thing outside of the MRM, and you fuckers go on the attack. How's that for tone policing? Again, I need to point out the underlying theme of this little conversation. You two are griping that the moment MGTOW come up with as much as one thing, just one tiny little principle that would in any way differentiate themselves from an MRA, it's one principle too many, which translates to MGTOW may not exist. Use the term MGTOW if you like. But philosophically you must be an AVFM approved MRA. In most cases, most MGTOW are indistinguishable from most MRAs. We can add up a lot of common differences for sure. But there are no concrete differences. These are all kinda sorta maybe sometimes differences. But is there even one concrete difference? Yeah, don't get married. One concrete difference, just one, and this is the sort of slanderous hysterics you assholes pull.
And feminists have gone off tone policing, deciding what specific word you're allowed to use. I mean, how hilarious is that? Come and join a movement called Men Going Their Own Way and we will tell you down to the last syllable what you're allowed to say. I mean, they're not going to win. They're not going to destroy this MGTOW movement.
Fuck you idiots. Fuck your lies. Fuck your hysterical hyperbole. And fuck your efforts to rebrand MGTOW as a marriage-friendly movement that does not differ from any other faction of the MRM/anti-feminist crowd.